All right. Welcome to the Hacksaw podcast. I am Everett.
And I'm Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan. And we're on to episode 6. We're talking about... This is probably going to be our... you would say our most divisive episode so far.
I was thinking the same thing. We should get our disclaimers out of the way, too, because we're talking about the beloved director, Guillermo del Toro. I have several, if not most of my friends who are fairly big fans of his. And to be fair, I am too.
This is gonna be a hard pill to swallow episode.
What we're going to be talking about is, well, we're not going to be doing it exactly like our other episodes where we've been talking about filmmakers like we did with Christopher Nolan or with Sam Mendes, because with those guys, we had no problem just roasting them the entire time.
That was easy. It's like we all know that Christopher Nolan is a complete, utter hack in every way, shape, and form. It's there's no like argument for or against it. It's just sheer facts. Guillermo del Toro just straight up started off making just gold. Just started off out the gate with some great stuff. And then the last, I would say, almost 2 decades have just been a linear pipeline of liquid shit.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate for the most part. The thing about Guillermo del Toro is, like I said from the get-go, I am a fan of him in general. I just think that there's a lot of things about his work that's really bad or problematic that a lot of his fans seem to ignore or just give a pass just because, well, it's Guillermo del Toro.
It's like, how long?
You gotta love it.
How long can you ride on the whole Pan's Labyrinth train before it runs out of gas? It's like, how long can you just milk that out? I mean, there's plenty of like bands in the world that have, got their one-hit wonders and they're still riding on it. Even bands like that have songs from like the 70s are still riding on those songs and making money off of them and stuff. And Guillermo del Toro is just one of those things where he's so frustrating to me because the quality of work that he put out in the beginning just doesn't make sense to me why he would just go so off the deep end.
Yeah, to clear the air here and to keep the geeks from finding out where I live and torching my place.
Just burning us out of house and home.
Yeah. I want to get the positive stuff out of the way first before we
Good idea.
Get into the other shit.
A little sugar to help the medicine go down.
Exactly. And here's the thing. I really like Guillermo del Toro's Spanish language films. He's only made a few of them, or at least a few major ones to my knowledge. I've seen all of them, and they're all really good.
They're all stellar, yeah.
His first major film, Kronos, I thought was really well done. Pretty low budget, but they do a lot with it, and it was just a really interesting take on the vampire genre.
This was also like right when he was coming out of film school, right?
This was in the early 90s.
This was like one of the first things he did.
I think he was in his late 20s.
Yeah,
when he directed it.
That's just what a lot of film students do when they first come out. I mean, because that's what they wanted. They want to do their weird. They want to try and get some attention and get some notoriety by doing something weird.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair because I used to take film classes, and I thought, ooh, it'd be really cool to be a director. And I had all these ideas, and they were all things that were pretty out there. But if you actually got a chance to actually do one of those ideas, you would absolutely go for it. But the thing is that at that early of an age, you don't really have the maturity, or you haven't really honed your craft enough yet to
You don't have the restraint to know.
Or restraint, yeah.
To know, like, how far to take something, You just kind of want to just jizz all over the canvas and just fucking smear it all over the place and be like, yeah! And Guillermo del Toro kind of did the opposite of that with Kronos. Mm-hmm. He came out the gate with, like, a pretty tasteful interesting take on the whole vampire genre, and executed it pretty well for his level of experience at that point.
Yeah, I think that the film,
And that in itself, his own talent in itself, got him his notoriety.
yeah, for sure. This was also the film that started his long-standing collaboration with Ron Perlman,
Right.
who appears in like every other movie of
I mean,
his.
he's a good guy to have on hand.
I mean, hey, it works, you know? And so, yeah, he made Kronos. I like that movie quite a bit. And then his other two Spanish language films, I think, are a little bit more well-known. There's the Devil's Backbone, which is one of my favorite films, just altogether.
Really recommend this one, actually. If you get a chance to go check out Devil's Backbone. I mean, it's an awesome little ghost story, and if you're into that kind of stuff, like it's really good.
It's really good. It's brutal. It's got great characters. I think the whole mood and setting of the whole thing is just really excellent, really well executed.
I love the color palette and the lighting in the whole film. Like there's a lot of attention to detail with that, with shadows and stuff, and like I don't know. I enjoy directors that use atmosphere and they use the actual lighting of the film to make it scary rather than just be like, oh, here's a spooky looking hallway and there's monsters in it. It's like, no, it's like there's other ways to build tension and build atmosphere that can actually add to the suspense.
Yeah, and I also appreciated that it wasn't strictly a horror movie.
Right.
It was more of a drama. It was more of a period piece. It was more of a...
Well, it's tackling other themes other than just horror. It was tackling war as well. Like there's, I won't give away too much about the movie, but...
Yeah, I mean, I just say, go watch Devil's Backbone. It's great. And then most of us have all seen Pan's Labyrinth. That was his last Spanish language film, I believe.
And that's probably like one of his real breakout films,
yeah.
I mean, it's still one of those things where it's like, and Pan's Labyrinth still holds up to this day.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a great film. This is when but I believe that Pan's Labyrinth is when Guillermo del Toro gets cemented into a certain style.
He became more mainstream after Pan's Labyrinth.
But I just feel like the people he worked with on the creatures and stuff, like, are the people that he would continue to work with from that point on. And therefore, every movie after Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro just kind of had the same look and feel to that movie.
His style became coded after Pan's Labyrinth, which is that
the Del Toro formula.
Del Toro does gritty fantasy realism.
I would say that, like, most likely after Pan's Labyrinth, it just became a money thing. It stopped. I believe after Pan's Labyrinth, it stopped being about art and which is what made Guillermo del Toro make great movies, and it started being more about money. And I don't know. I don't blame him.
Not
100%.
really. I don't know if it was really. I don't know how much money really played into it, but it's just kind of a shame that everything up until Pan's Labyrinth, at least his Spanish language stuff, was his best work. And then everything after that, it's sort of like, oh, it's the new film from Guillermo del Toro.
He did a Shrek movie.
Remember,
you're telling me it's not about money?
And every time he gets brought up, it's always, well, remember Pan's Labyrinth? Remember that?
Remember that? Ugh.
And it's like, yes, I do remember that. That was 14, almost 15 years ago. Move the fuck on. When's he gonna do something good again?
Yeah, even if he came out with just like one other good film, I think. Just one other good one. I think that would have been enough. I think to be like, all right, yeah, this guy, he's awesome. Like we can expect some good stuff from him, every once in a while. But it's just been one of these things where, looking at his sort of involvement in all these different films, a lot of them are I feel are collaborations, and a lot of them are more of like a step back role. Like he's not directing each one of these films that we're going to talk about. He's more writing and producing them. But when you are producing, you do have a hand in the creative process of the film, and it's hard for me to really understand why he would want to put his name on some of these projects. Like for example, like fucking Puss in Boots. Like why? Like just because it's Antonio Banderas? That's it? Just because it's another guy, another Spanish guy?
That's probably it. That's probably at least
that's enough.
That's got to be one thing.
That's enough. That's what I'm saying. It's more about money at this point because he wants to fill his weird Vincent Price home up with more like busts of Frankenstein and he wants to have like a bone room.
I think part of it too is that he has to settle for these projects because I've looked up some stuff about the projects that he's been wanting to make for the past 20 years. And none of them really are able to get that much off the ground. They're just kind of stuck in this sort of limbo or production hell. Stuff that he wants to do, which are, for instance, adaptations of certain stories by H.P. Lovecraft, like At the Mountains of Madness or A Call of Cthulhu. And
which I think that
would be really cool.
That's pretty much up his alley. Like that would be cool, and that would be a departure from what he usually does, and maybe that he could do something cool with that. But I mean, how many Puss in Boots and Kung Fu Panda sequels do you have to do before that comes out?
Right, and I just get this feeling that these movies or TV shows or whatever they are, I feel like at this point they're just never going to come out. So,
and I'm fine with it. Whatever.
So like, but what I'm sure,
like, but just like fuck him. I don't care.
What I'm saying though is that there's all these things he really wanted to do. He doesn't really get the chance to do. So he ends up working on these other things, which he's able to do. And this is kind of how I want to lead into where the majority of the problems we have with his work are, which is that when he started getting more into making Hollywood films, I feel like that's when the level of quality really started declining for him.
I mean, this happens not just to Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened to other directors too. Just look at John Woo.
John Woo is a really good example. Yeah.
Just look at what Hollywood did to that poor boy. Look at what they did to our boy.
So it's a common thing that happens with foreign directors who get an opportunity to start making films in Hollywood is they have to adjust to the structure of the Hollywood studio system, and they aren't really able to...
Sometimes it's nepotism, too. It's like, there's no place for you because my son is making movies, and then his son's going to be there, and it's like, who are you?
Sure, yeah. It's just that they aren't really able to really fully flesh out the ideas they have. This happened to Guillermo del Toro when he made his first Hollywood film, Mimic. From what I read about it, not a good film, by the way. But from what I read about it, there was a lot of studio interference. This was a Weinstein joint.
Yeah.
So Harvey Weinstein, I think, was, going in and just saying stuff to Del Toro,
just hanging out by the craft services and
pig.
Oh, no, Nancy, that is not Harvey Weinstein. I'm so sorry, Jeff. My sister's from out of town.
Oh.
I'm really sorry.
Oh my God. Don't worry. I'm the host of the party.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yes, I'm not Harvey Weinstein.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He looks like Harvey Weinstein. It's just like him.
What the hell? Okay.
So that happened, and then, he didn't really make another movie for a little while in Hollywood after that because Mimic was a total flop. Don't think many people even remember that movie at all. Then he got into off the success of the Blade movie.
He did Blade 2.
Yeah, he did Blade 2.
He was getting tossed these he gets tossed a lot of sequel work.
He got into that's when he started getting into comic book films before Hollywood comic book movies were really established yet. This was in that early 2000s era where people were going, all right, we got X-Men, that was a hit. We got Spider-Man, that was a huge hit. All right, what else can we do?
They were starting to figure out oh shit, these fucking comic book movies, they make millions and millions of dollars because I think they tried Hollywood has always tried to make comic book movies. Mm-hmm. From the very beginning. I mean, how many fucking Superman movies are there from the 80s and 90s?
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Like I mean, it's like there's so many. I mean, and then they tried it with. The problem is that like they made movies like like those old Batman movies with like George Clooney and shit. It's
Yeah.
like the problem is that those movies were always like made so freaking campy and so goofy and so just like irreverent that they were never taken seriously as films. They were just kind of like something that like, you got your son for the weekend, and you don't really see him that often, and so you gotta take him to Blockbuster, and like you rent him Batman and Robin, and you get a Papa Murphy's pizza, and then you just kind of park him in front of the TV, and you just like, all right, whatever.
This sounds strangely familiar. It actually doesn't sound too bad.
It wasn't too bad.
Got a pizza. I got a
pizza,
Batman movie.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a nice evening.
yeah, Weekend Dad.
Yeah.
Weekend Dad rents Tim Burton's Batman movies for his kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's But the problem is that those movies like were just they were never taken that seriously, and they never really made that much money, to be honest. Like yeah, there was like a niche audience of them, but like nobody really ever gave a shit. Unless I only ever gave a shit about him if like because Danny DeVito was the Penguin and he was like the best Penguin ever. I don't give a shit.
All right. Well, it's kind of funny because
They're like, no, Danny, the Penguin is not actually a penguin.
right.
It's like,
Well, that was the only direction that Tim Burton gave Danny DeVito, I think, because Tim Burton was known for not reading any Batman comics up till.
it's like, oh, yeah, the Penguin. All right, well, here, I'll get him a little tuxedo and.
So the character's called the Penguin. All right, so he's literally a penguin. Got it.
Got it. All right, go, Danny. Go run with it.
So you're gonna be
I'm
like,
a what?
You're a penguin, Danny. All right, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna act like a penguin. So that means you're gonna be eating fish out of the water.
Here, I got here. Eat this, Danny. Eat, go ahead. We're just gonna eat. I want you to eat this fucking can of sardines while we're doing the table read.
My name is not Oswald. It's Penguin. I am not a human being. I am an animal. Cold-blooded. Crank the AC.
Yeah, I think with Blade 2, to bring it back to Del Toro here, I think that movie was fairly successful at the time, and I think part of the reason was because vampire stuff was sort of in.
Oh, it was super hot.
You had Underworld, you had
It was a certain type of vampire.
you had Queen
stuff.
of the Damned,
It was bad at. It was like martial arts vampire.
it was
stuff.
yeah, it was like
it was
cool,
vampire stuff, but also Matrix.
cool vampires who wore trench coats and went
Yeah.
to raves and listened to Rob Zombie.
The Matrix
And
kind of
did
ruined.
hacking.
The Matrix kind of ruined everything.
It kind of did.
For in the early 2000s, like it was like the Matrix, and I love the original Matrix is a great movie. It's still like you go back, it doesn't really hold up, but it is a good film. Like it has good moments, and it's still worth a watch. The sequels are awful, but
They should have just never made.
they should have
those.
never gone further than the first one. It fell into the whole thing with Hollywood where like, oh shit, it made money, we got to make more of them.
Yeah,
Like
I thought the Animatrix was cool
that doesn't count. That was different. That was yeah.
because all they did with that was, hey, we'll license the Matrix property to all these really good anime creators, and we'll just let them do what they want and give them whatever budget they want.
It was more of like, here's an animation reel, and the prompt is Matrix themed.
right.
Yeah. But the Matrix just sort of like, because that movie was such a smash hit.
Absolute box office smash mega movie, number one box office smash mega movie.
And because of that, it's just like influenced everything else. And so, yeah, of course, Guillermo del Toro is going to get stuck making a fucking, like, what if it was the Matrix, but also vampires movie? And that's what I'm saying is that, like, I don't know what he did. Maybe Guillermo del Toro pissed somebody off. Maybe he stopped, like, maybe he, like, walked in on Harvey Weinstein when he was committing one of his many crimes. And never since then, he was kind of throwing all these like shitty fucking movie roles. It's like, you're never gonna work in this town again, Guillermo.
Just walking in and out of his office or wherever, like Grandpa Simpson in the like whoop doo doo whoop.
Whoop, just puts the hat back on and walks out.
Just puts it on, puts it off, puts it back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Pacific Rim, right?
What a waste of Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what an absolute waste of...
What a waste of Charlie Day. What a waste of Ron Perlman, too.
Right? I mean...
What a waste of money.
What a
Overall. That movie was so expensive.
That movie cost a shit ton. Holy fuck. You know how many fucking statues of Dracula Guillermo del Toro could have bought to put in his fucking hallway? The Idris Elba thing bothers me quite a bit because he's usually quite selective about his roles. At least from what I've seen. Everything that he's in, it's like, it's usually really good. Because he's a great actor. He's one of my favorite actors. He's definitely one of Jordan's mom's favorite actors. Holy shit. There's a poster of him in her room. Oh my.
Yeah, my mom said that after Denzel started to get a bit older,
She moved on.
She's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a guy who's 15 years younger than Denzel.
Ooh, yeah, steamy. Just the
And
fogging up the windows
He's
there.
also British.
Yeah, that's another one.
He looks very dapper in a suit.
Yeah, he's muscular, he's tall.
You know, he's just the whole
Whole
package.
He's the whole thing. I mean, he looks like he could pick your mom up and just carry her away. Imagine that. Idris Elba dad.
I'd be cool with that.
You dad.
Well, I don't know. I like my dad a lot. I don't know if I... Can I have two dads?
No, because then you could get to experience Weekend Dad.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I got Weekend Dad when I was a kid, and that's when like you'll go to your dad's house and he'll get you a Papa Murphy's pizza and rent you Batman and Robin, and and it's just like you
Again.
yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, like he doesn't. All of a sudden, he just doesn't know how to deal with his 34-year-old son.
Dad, can we stop watching Batman and Robin? Can we watch Spider-Man, like Into the Spider-Verse or something instead? But yeah, Pacific Rim. Yeah, waste of entire cast. Waste of Rinko Kikuchi as well.
Who?
The Japanese actress. She was the
Oh yeah,
high school girl from Babel.
Oh yeah, wasn't she in Cloud Atlas?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay. So I'm just being racist then.
Not really. I thought that was her too. Because they had a very similar look.
It's like, I don't know.
Not that just they were
It's
Asian.
Like
they had
short-haired,
Yeah.
like Korean kind of go-go chick that kind of kicks ass a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
her too. Then I looked it up and it's like, oh wait, it's not
two
her.
Two different ladies. Okay. Well, they're both great. I like them both. Cloud Atlas sucks ass. That movie's garbage, but she was good. Pacific Rim. Look, I found myself like comparing this movie to another movie that recently came out, and that was the recent Godzilla movie, The King of the Monsters.
Oh, okay.
And we've talked on this show a couple of times about directors wanting to do one of two things. They either want to make a film that's competent and is a good film and it stands the test of time. They want it to be a movie that you can come back to and watch it, or at any point in your life you can watch this movie and it still holds up. They either want to do that, or they want to make an amusement park ride where it's entirely designed for the theater experience. It's entirely designed to be enjoyed by Chinese people in a theater, and that's it. And the thing is, like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I love roller coasters. I love going to theme parks. I think it's super fun. But there's something inherently icky about, and I'm going to use the word icky, about this entire formula, you know? It just seems to be like somewhat of a subversion of the craft. It's like a subversion of film as an art form, you know? It's like kind of the Mountain Dewing of movies.
I'm really conflicted with...
Because it's not, you know, because you agree with me, right? It's like it's not inherently a bad thing to be like, you know, it's just a roller coaster.
Yeah, but I was just going to add, well, I'm conflicted because if the movie is going to advertise itself as being a roller coaster ride of sorts, you don't really get that with this film. And what I mean by that is that everybody defends Pacific Rim who likes it anyway. And their argument is always, why you gotta be a hater, man? Look, it's giant robots fighting giant monsters. It's so cool.
And
we finally got it.
And that's why I bring up Godzilla.
And I think, well, yes, that is what the movie's based around, but look at what you actually get, though. What I mean by that is, if the movie wasn't like this 2-hour-long thing and instead just focused only on giant robots fighting monsters.
Right. Which is like
that'd be fine.
That's what I feel like Godzilla does. Like Godzilla is a movie. It's like it knows its acting is terrible. It knows its script is garbage. So it doesn't spend any time on that. It spends entirely of its time on just sweet monster fights and cool set pieces and good visuals. I think the actual CG in Godzilla is pretty good. And it's not the best, but it's fun for like the movies and stuff like that. And I felt like that after seeing the theater. I knew I was going into an amusement park ride. I knew I was going in for a roller coaster thing. I knew I was going in because I wanted to see it on the big screen with a huge sound system, and I wanted to go blow and yeah, it was like, it was like smashing your action figures together when you're a kid. It was like that. I knew what I was getting when I was going in there. Pacific Rim kind of masquerades itself as that, but also a real film.
Well,
it tries to kind of input this like sort of emotional narrative into it that doesn't work at all.
I think that where the film really falls short is everything outside of the actual battle scenes or the action scenes. And I don't even think the action scenes are all that great because, and this is actually another problem I had with I
didn't really like them that much either.
And this is a problem I had with the last Godzilla movie too. Okay, you have this movie, right? It's like costs, I don't know, somewhere between 150 and 200 million dollars.
Yeah, and 175 million of that is all visual effects.
And you have hundreds or if not thousands of people working on the visual effects for this film. And then you as a director go, wouldn't it be cool if we had this action sequence take place at night and in the rain, during really heavy rain, in the middle of the ocean, and you can hardly see anything, or in the middle of a snowstorm?
Yeah, it hides it hides the CG is what it does.
I guess so, but you think like with that level of production, the CG would be well done enough that you wouldn't have to.
I think that this comes to my point, and this is not something we've talked about on the show. It's something we've talked about, in just in general, is that I've always said, and I always will say, that no matter what, we are a long way off from CG being competent in the type of style that these movies want it to be. CG can be a good tool to help smooth things out, to add certain movements that practical effects would not be able to add to, let's say, like a creature or something like that, or even like somebody getting their head blown off or whatever. You can use CG to make that look a lot better. But the thing is that at the end of the day, practical effects still look so much better and are still so much more practical to use. Like, for example, like if you have an actor that has to talk there's a talking dinosaur, and he's got to talk to the dinosaur about saving all the dinosaur friends from the horrible, guy with the cigar in his mouth and the bulldozers coming to take down the forest. He's got to talk with this character, this thing. The actual real actor has to have a conversation with this fake thing that doesn't exist, right? If he's just talking to a green screen and nothing else, you're not going to get, it's going to be very difficult to get a good performance out of that actor. It takes, I think it's insanely hard to really get into your character when you're just staring at a green screen. When you have like practical effects and your character is looking at something tangible and real and can understand it and can sort of visualize how it would speak or how it would move, or it can, it feels like it's having a full-on conversation with it, you're going to get a better performance. Mm-hmm. And I feel like things like Pacific Rim and stuff, they show that type of that shows. You know, that process shows a lot because you just have actors just standing in front of a green screen, just, you know, like basically Phantom Menacing it the entire time.
Yeah. So special effects aside and action and all that stuff out of the way. Yeah, Pacific Rim, just there really isn't much there in terms of characters you give a shit about. The story is just kind of there. It's
Guillermo del Toro
really
has a
it's
lot
just
of
a bunch
like,
of it's just a bunch of anime tropes, just
Yeah.
sort of.
Oh, it's just all
crammed
shit
together.
they stole from Evangelion.
Yeah, it's all. And
It's all. That's all
Yeah.
it is. It's just they just stole a bunch of shit from anime and Evangelion, which a lot of sci-fi and stuff does, anyways. Like specifically from Evangelion.
well,
Like
yeah.
they steal shit all the time, and it's annoying because it's always done a little bit shittier.
Right.
It's always just like a lesser version of it, you know. And it's like I'm not saying Evangelion is like the greatest thing of all fucking time or anything, you know. It's all right. It's pretty good. The movies are where it's at if you're gonna check it out. All of his stuff is ground that's been covered. Mm-hmm. All of his films are ground that's been covered. Everything. That's the entire point of Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro is just a nostalgia machine.
yeah.
That's all he is. He doesn't like, and the reason why people like him is because of that too.
And he's just as he is as a person. He's just a nice, big old fat fuzzy teddy bear.
Yeah.
And every time he gives an interview or he speaks at an awards ceremony or anything like that, he just comes across as just very likable, very charming.
Oh yeah, this is nothing personal against Guillermo.
Oh,
del
sure, and
Toro.
I'm not
Like,
saying
I'd
that,
say,
like-
yeah, he's a total nice guy,
and I'm
I
not
think
saying
he's
like I
great.
don't think he is. I'm not saying like I don't think he isn't a nice guy, and I totally get that. Because he's just one of those few figures who makes things that geeks and nerds like, who isn't like completely fucking them over all the time.
Right.
And even if the work that he puts out is disappointing, his fans will go, well,
Well, remember Pan's Labyrinth?
yeah, Pan's Labyrinth was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. I remember the guy with the eyes in his hands. That was interesting.
Remember Hellboy?
Yeah.
Well, Hellboy wasn't all that great, but I really like the idea of that movie being great. So I'm gonna just
First one was okay, passable, I'd say.
people just
It's like a movie. You would like, you know, you're like you have the flu or something, and you have like for some reason you have TV and it's on like you turn on like TNT. Or you're like, or like you turn on like fucking Stars or something like that, and like Hellboy's on, like you'll watch it, whatever. You're just dying. You're just trying to get through this horrible sickness that you're in, and you don't really give a shit, and you'll watch it. You know, it has its uses.
I remember last time I was sick, I just ended up watching a lot of. I remember I was watching Prometheus again just because it was on. And then I just went ahead and watched Alien Covenant after that.
I think we should have a full-on Prometheus episode.
But I was, oh yeah, we've
think-
teased about that a little bit
yeah,
too.
I think that's coming down the old shit pipe.
But you're so sick and you give such little of a shit that you have something on, and once in a while something happens that's kind of interesting, and you go, oh, all right, I'm watching a movie now. I don't know about you, but Alien Covenant's my favorite of the recent Jurassic Parks. That's what I was thinking at the time.
Right.
But anyway, we're plowing ahead here.
Hold on.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about The Shape of Water, which is his latest movie. Well, it came out a few years ago now, but I think what I was saying that Pan's Labyrinth and The Shape of Water are kind of it. They're about 10 years apart.
It's weird. It's because Shape of Water is almost like, in a way, like a culmination of his previous work. I think it's closer to Hellboy than it is to Pan's Labyrinth.
I think the reason for that is because, there was another thing I was going to say. People like what I said, like people like the idea of Hellboy being a good movie. It's because you have Ron Perlman and who's the guy who plays Abe? Doug Jones, who's a frequent collaborator with del Toro as well, Doug Jones is one of those guys, kind of like
He's like a
Andy Serkis.
Yeah, or like C-3PO, the guy who played that.
And he's one of those actors whose main resume is mostly guys or characters who are these creatures who require at least 5 to 10 hours of makeup per day to really perform the thing. And he does a lot of you can't quite see it because it's audio, but I'm mimicking my hand movements like
he does a lot
Doug
of
Jones does.
Just
He seems like one of those guys who's
whimsical, like spindly. Yeah, Jordan's doing like
I'm talking with my hands and expressing myself emotively because I think
it's like extreme New Jersey talking.
Because I think I was trained as a mime or some kind of. He looks like one of those. If you
He's
actually
just like constantly pantomiming everything he's saying.
If you look at Doug Jones in person, you go, "This guy definitely went to the circus school."
Yeah, he kind of has that.
This guy can juggle.
Yeah, it's like if he would play Voldo in a Soul Calibur movie.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh,
like he
for
would
sure.
do his weird archback fucking contortionist stuff. Yeah. This movie reminds me of like if Guillermo del Toro, like this was Guillermo del Toro's homework and he just didn't do it until like a week before it was due, like, you know, and like he just was like, oh shit, well, I got this like creature from the Black Lagoon costume lying around. I can use that. Oh, I got this set that's like a chamber thing, like laboratory. It's like, fuck, I guess we can throw that in there. And I got a bunch of these like 1960s sets from all those Lovecraft movies that I wanted to do but never got to do. So I'll just recycle those and use those in here. It's like, oh, he kind of stands back and everything's all scotch taped together. And he's like, that looks good.
Right. That's probably not too far off, I think.
It just, everything seemed like, because nothing in this film, like, fits together.
I think what he wanted to do...
It looks like everything was pulled from different ends of the spectrum, and it was just like, well, what we'll do is we'll just put a filter of green. We'll just put, like, a filter of puke green over the whole thing, and so it'll make it all look cohesive.
I think he just... took just kind of what was around him, what just like some crap he had laying around. I think he just wanted to. Well, if there's one thing Guillermo del Toro loves, it's classic movie monsters.
Oh my god! Oh, absolutely.
These cafe curtains require no sewing. I know you all love that. Sorry.
No, it's like every single thing. We saw a picture of his house, like the inside of his house. Like when you first walk in, it's like Vincent Price answering the door, just be like, "Hello, welcome to my home," and you just see a giant fucking Frankenstein head looming over you, and you just see like wax statues.
Got this Frankenstein head that's about as tall as I am.
It looks like it costs like $45,000 at least just to hang that fucking thing out there. It's like, come on in, let's show you my bone room, and takes you down, and he just has like a pit of pigeon bones at the bottom of this fucking cellar. It's just I don't know. It's one of those things. We were talking about this the other day. It's just like he's got one of those houses where like everything is something. Like you can't just have a fucking coffee mug. It's got to be like an Indian skull with a fucking hand. You got to pick it up by the jaw.
Oh yeah, and I imagine that there's constant Count Chocula music playing in the background.
Yeah, it's just like the Monster Mash is just on repeat. There's in just the corner.
Creepy organ music. Yeah.
No, he just has a creepy like emaciated organist just like fucking hauling off in the corner at all times. He pays him $90,000 a year to just sit there and play creepy organ music. It's just like Guillermo, you should probably like look, if you want to make these fucking Lovecraft movies, like fire the organist. First of all.
You know, at the same time, I'm like, hey, at the same time,
it is good atmosphere when you're in.
For someone who's a multimillionaire, at least he's kind of doing something with the money.
No. I'm not against what he's doing with it. I just think it's funny.
It's hilarious.
It's just funny. Like, he's just such a fucking fanboy. Like he's just such a like. It's just, and also it's like, look, I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like just because you're like a fan of something Like, just because you're like super into like old school, like fucking drive-in movie monsters, like super, I mean, like the most mainstream monsters you can possibly think of, like the most mainstream pulp, like horror films you could think of. It doesn't mean that like you should include that in every single thing that you make.
I think that he likes these things more than most other people do, but
Yeah.
he really wants to get you into it. It's sort of like
he's like your friend that's trying to get you into Battlestar Galactica, and you just like look, man, like he's like, no, but like there's all these themes that like of like, you know, political. It's like, yeah, but it's, you know, it's, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch like 7-9 seasons.
I don't want to watch Firefly. Yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's exactly. It's like, yeah, it's like, well, you haven't seen Firefly? How could you? Like, I saw that movie Serenity, and I didn't have any idea what was going on. And somebody was like, oh, well, you have to watch Firefly. You have to watch all this stuff. This movie was made for people who, like, you know, wanted another season of Firefly. We didn't get it. And I was just like, I don't fucking, like, like, that's this dumb thing to do for a movie. It's a dumb thing to release a movie and, like, have it be, like, just, like, a season of the final season of a show condensed into a movie released into theaters.
it kind of reminds me of it kind of reminds me like about 10 years or so ago when Quentin Tarantino was doing that whole Grindhouse thing, and that movie totally bombed.
It was, yeah, but that was I agree with you, but I also disagree in a way. It's like, but he was like, that was deliberate schlock though.
Well, I think but what I mean is that definitely deliberate schlock. But what I mean is that he was saying, look, I love Grindhouse, I love trash, I love pulp, I love blaxploitation, I love all this shit.
He loves all the gross stuff. Yeah.
And I'm gonna spend, I don't know, $50 million or whatever to make this, and you're all gonna love it because you all love this shit just like I do. And the majority of film audiences were just going, not really, man. You can do this if you want, but we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's like it's okay, dude. There's a lot going on with Shape of Water that I believe that this is the first time Guillermo del Toro has not shied away from sort of symbolism and messaging before in his films. Obviously, like, you know, you have Pan's Labyrinth had a lot of stuff to do with, like, you know, with war and also with divorced parents, I think.
Yeah,
as a thing, like having like a parents with a shitty marriage and stuff, like, so your kid just kind of like wanders off to try and escape that world. I think that there's a lot of symbolism there, but with that was more subtle. And in
Pan's Labyrinth, I think the main character or the girl, I think it was that her father died.
In the war. Yeah. It's like,
and her mom found a new love interest with the fascist guy.
Right, yeah. So what I meant was,
but anyway.
Yeah, just parental issues, this kind of thing where it's like, you just, you want to just get the fuck out of that house, you know, and get away and kind of lose yourself in your own imagination, which is good. But in Shape of Water, instead of having this sort of like subtle kind of thing going on, where like more of the like where you would have like the whimsical stuff kind of happening in the forefront and the symbolism sort of in the background, it's sort of like reversed to where, or at least equal to where you have like the whimsical stuff right out in front and you have the fucking symbolism just beating you over the head throughout the entire film.
You have the score of the film beating you over with it too. The entire
you
time.
Do, yeah.
The score by Alexandre Desplat.
Alexandre.
Have you met the cat?
Well, no, I saw it through the window once.
You saw it through the window?
Yeah, but I understand that wasn't really meeting. Okay, I'm happy to meet the cat.
Well, Alexandre, this is Paula.
Let me ask you something. Is there something that's stopping you from saying the whole word?
Alexandre?
Is it Alexandra, but you got busy?
Alexander.
Okay, and then just stop.
Just stop.
This movie really attempts to sort of like compartmentalize each individual sort of like, I guess, discriminated like sexuality and orientations and race. It sort of compartmentalizes all these things into separate characters. So you have the main character who is mute, she can't talk, sign language, all that kind of stuff. And then her neighbor is, you find out a little bit later that he's gay. And then I think that the main creature is either African American or
What?
I think that's what I'm saying.
Are you saying the fish character is
Maybe that's what I'm saying. This is like I'm just sort of throwing stuff at the wall here and stuff. But I have a feeling it's something like that.
I think that I don't think you're far off with that, but at the same time, the main character, her friend and coworker is African American, and she's got her own things going on with how she's treated, and there's also
I just don't think they just don't go 100% with her friend. That's why I was thinking this way, is that they don't fully they don't have that scene like they do with the guy who is gay, where he gets rejected and kicked out, and then the same scene that
scene was so dumb.
The dumbest scene in the entire world, where there's just this diner that they like to go to that all they do is serve pie, which is the worst idea for a diner ever. Yeah. But they just serve Jello pie. It's because it's the 1960s and we all eat fucking diarrhea.
This was before Julia Child. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't.
Nobody knows how to cook. Everybody just has to put a powder in a bowl and add water.
Everything's a casserole. Everything's
just a pile of mush. And in the same scene, the gay character that's the main character's friend kind of comes on to the guy who is sort of leading him on a little bit. Is sort of you would think oh yeah, I think right when he propositions him, I was thinking, oh okay, yeah, they're gonna be gay together, but he just straight up flips a 180, rejects him, kicks him out, and just says that I don't want you to see you back around here anymore, and you kind of feel man, this guy is 2 seconds away from an F-bomb. Mm-hmm. And in the same exact scene, there's this black couple that comes in to try and get a table, and he just kicks them out too straight up and just says yeah, it's because you're black, so get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
it's
right.
the same scene.
These seats are reserved. Okay.
This little double whammy of racism and discrimination.
So not only is he homophobic, he's also racist. And this is all done within, I think, a few minutes.
It's like
this black
same
couple.
Sentence.
This black couple just happens to walk in conveniently.
Yeah.
At the same time, this guy working at the diner is telling off Richard Jenkins' character here, and it's just so you get it. Everybody was really racist back then, and this guy
back then.
Yeah, back then. Huh. Well, they were more racist back then.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know. We don't have to get into that.
No, we don't. This is not that kind of a podcast.
Yeah, we're not.
But just know that we're not that. But but this scene is just look, Guillermo del Toro is attempting to tackle these serious issues with a film about a lady who fucks a fish man. That is the end of the day. That is what is happening here, and it's just not. It's done in such a lazy, not lazy, but it's done in such a ineffective way. I'd say it's totally ineffective, and I don't understand why it's there. I don't understand why it needs to do that. I'm already kind of interested. I would like to know a little bit more of what led up to their relationship. What I mean is that the lady who is mute works at this weird government facility that I'm not quite sure what it does.
Yeah,
and also you can just be a civilian and just take a bus there, and they just do super crazy secret weird stuff right in front of you and expect you not to say anything.
Look, it's a cool looking set. Just go with it.
So she's a janitor or part of the the cleanup crew at this government facility, and just right in front of her, she's cleaning up this laboratory room, and they just wheel in the fish man in this tank, and they're oh, we found this thing in Brazil, and we're gonna do some tests on it, and she's just in there cleaning, and I don't give a shit. Yeah, put it over there, and she eventually like, meets or sneaks in to see it and finds out that this like sort of basically he's this creature from the Black Lagoon. That's all it is.
Well, she
And-
gets assigned to clean the space for
Right.
just no
Just
reason,
for
really.
no reason. Yeah. Well, yeah. And then
Just
she,
because we need to.
we need to speed this plot
Get
up.
this going.
It's going. It's like a 2-hour movie. Get it going. And she forms a relationship with it. Like she starts talking like immediately. There's no like, oh, it's like a wild thing that tries to attack her at first, and then she wins it over. It's none of that. There's no sort of like build up to like their relationship. It feels like it tries to say that, but it really, I mean, at the very beginning, it was just like, it's there. Like now she has a connection with it.
The film starts in a way that's kind of feels off to me, which is that I think in order to build this romance, or at least this connection between these two characters a little bit better, I feel like one of the problems is that the film starts with the main character instead of the fish creature, because
Right.
the fish creature isn't really like established or really seen that much throughout. It's more focused on the woman, and I feel like we need to humanize this fish creature, right?
And
It'd
also,
make more
like the fish
sense
creature is way more interesting than this woman.
I want to know like how they found him, how they get him here,
Yeah.
because the fish creature is far, at least on the surface and everything, it's like pretty interesting, and it's the most interesting thing.
And also,
about the movie.
everybody that sees it is totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Everybody that sees this
True.
this creature from the Black Lagoon, this fucking manfish that's terrifying, like everybody that comes in contact with it is like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a fish guy. I get it. Yeah. It's like there's no like sort of nobody is like scared of it. Nobody is like, what the fuck is that? Nobody is saying like, am I going crazy? Am I seeing things? No, stuff. It's like, no, it's fine. It's just a fish creature. Just, whatever.
And one thing about this movie too is the thing about Guillermo del Toro's movie, as we talked about, he makes gritty R-rated fairy tales, supposedly for adults, but I feel like his understanding of how to portray people is just very, very childlike in the way, because the people that are good, or the characters that are good in his movies, are like really, really good. They never do anything bad, and the people who are bad are always bad, and they're just bad. They're evil.
They have no redeeming qualities.
So
yeah.
you have Michael Shannon's character in this movie, who we'll just call Evil Man.
Yeah, evil rapey man who does everything possible to be evil and rapey.
Who's just so she goes to clean up this chamber where the fish creature is. We'll just call him Fish Boy, where Fish Boy is being kept, and there's just blood everywhere.
Yeah.
And you find out, oh, it's because Evil Man is just torturing this guy.
Yeah, he's just torturing the creature.
Just because
why?
this is Unit 731, I guess. And
it was almost like, what are you trying to get some nuclear secrets out of him? Like, what are you trying to get him to talk? Like, I don't get it. There was like no reason to like there was no reason to torture it. It can't talk.
right,
It doesn't speak English.
So this is some kind of science research project, but you never see anyone actually doing anything scientific.
you see more laundry being done there than anything else.
You see a lot of mopping,
a lot of mopping,
mostly mopping.
a lot of people like with clipboards, but they're not really going anywhere, doing anything. Like you don't see any. They are cleaning like a plane type thing in the beginning.
Well, you have characters who play scientists, like you have a serious man in
this
there,
serious
and he's
man guy, yeah.
Dimitri or whatever, and
Yeah.
he's supposedly the scientist. You never see him do anything.
He never does anything scientist, and he's also a part of this like subplot, this Russian spy who's like spying. He's like a spy in the facility for the Russians, and like that plot goes nowhere and has no bearing on the story whatsoever, other than the fact that like it's another guy that can get shot or fucked up later.
I think it was just more like
So he could give away the main character at the end.
I think it was Del Toro just going, all right, it's the mid '60s. What else we got to get in there? Oh yeah, the Cold War. Something about the Russians.
Something about the Russians. That's what makes it. Yeah, we gotta really take people back to that time.
It's sort of like, I get it, Scorsese does it too, where it's...
Yeah, but he does it for a purpose.
Oh, he does. But what I mean is, all right, so it's going to be the 1960s. All right, so it's going to be the Rolling Stones.
Hustle and bustle,
and then
everybody
it's going
going
to be, we're going to have the black and white TV shows going on in the background. And but anyway, so there's that whole story element with the Russian guy. It's just there.
It does nothing. So the main lady is forms this like kind of weird like romance or kind of weird connection with Fish Boy. She starts bringing him food and stuff, and then she hatches a plot to have him to break him out, to take him back to her house or to get him out of there because they're gonna kill him and dissect him and stuff. And she finally gets it out of the facility, and the movie just kind of like meanders for forever after that. Like, it's just sort of like, all right, it's done. It's just kind of meanders forever, and then it's hard to even talk about this movie at all because there's nothing to say. It's just sort of like just keeps jumping forward in the plot to the point where it's like none of the plot previous mattered at all, and it's just sort of in the moment, and it's more about like the weird sort of visual scenes than actual narrative or actual character development at all going on.
Yeah, I think that I want to make a comparison.
There's no story here.
I want to make a little bit of a comparison to Pacific Rim on one level, which is that they have similar marketing hype. Pacific Rim, as I was saying earlier, was all just based around the whole geeky, it's giant monsters fighting giant robots. Come on, let's go see it. It's going to be awesome. And then it was sort of a similar thing with The Shape of Water. The marketing hype with that was like, hey, you want to see a movie where a lady has sex with a fish creature? Wouldn't that be something? And
yeah, it's one thing I wanted to say about this, and also like to do with your previous point about him trying to gear this towards a more mature audience by just like, after I saw this movie, I thought that the entire plot and everything, all the themes and everything about this movie, like read to me like a kid's picture book with like one sentence per page kind of thing, where it's like the dog is very sad, next page, and like it's sad because it doesn't have his ball, and the next page is like, yeah, but and the ball is lost, and then he's got to go find the ball, and like that's like how this movie like plays out. It's like a 2-hour long 7-page children's book, and the only reason that it's mature is because it shows bush. Like the sex scenes just feel out of place. Mm-hmm. Because it's almost like I'm watching a kid's movie here. Mm-hmm. And then here's this lady's bush comes like fucking tranching into the scene, and that's fine. That's great. But it's like there's a time and a place, and it just doesn't fit. At least for me, like it just didn't fit at all. It was like I was looking at I was watching this with Olivia, and we just when that started, we just looked at each other like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is this? Like, it's just like, does that make it art? Because she has sex with it, now it's art.
I feel
now it's deep.
Well, this might sound kind of weird to say, but even that part was a letdown because I was let in with the whole, they're gonna show her having sex with the fish.
Oh yeah, he's
creature.
gonna have like a fish dick.
So I want to see the fish dick, right?
Yeah, there's supposed. I mean, look, yeah, if you're gonna do that, you might as well. You gotta throw the fish dick in there.
And it doesn't.
Yeah, he's like a Ken doll down there.
There's sort of
how do they even have sex? Like I was like looking. So how does this even work biologically?
I think it's implied that he does have a penis because when she kind of explains it to her friend or coworker the next day, she kind of implies that he had a unit.
Yeah.
And because they were underwater, he was really able to get it working.
Oh, okay.
They also destroy that entire building.
Yeah, and that was fine.
There's no
consequences with that. Yeah, she flooded her entire upstairs apartment.
Like the landlord is pissed off, I guess, but he doesn't kick him out or anything.
Hey, you flooded my entire apartment. Don't let it happen again.
Why I oughta?
Oh yeah, you crazy kids.
I'll shake my fist at you.
Oh yeah, you destroyed my entire business and livelihood. Just don't do it again.
Yeah.
Or else I'm gonna have to charge you extra rent. It's just
That's the kind of thing about this movie, and this is a problem I feel with.
And why does he have to have god powers? What?
Yeah, because he's a god.
So this fish thing can also, like, of course it can, like, heal wounds. It could just, like...
Except doesn't choose to do that until the very end of the movie for some reason.
Yeah, it's like, of course...
All this time it's being tortured and
Yeah.
it's bleeding and
yeah,
it's just suffering and just...
and then it gets shot and it's like, yeah, but I'm not shot, I'm fine. I can just heal. It's cool. But like throughout the other parts of the movie, he's just like, yeah, getting the shit kicked out of him, and he's just like bleeding on the floor and shit. Doesn't heal himself then. Man, what a waste of Michael Shannon.
Hey, for what it's worth, when he's in the movie, he's really good.
He's really good, but I'm not saying his performance is bad.
I want to get a Cadillac.
Yeah, I just like it's a nice shade of green, sir.
Not green.
It's teal.
It's teal.
It's teal. It's not green. I like these candies. They're very simple. You know, people want these candies with all sorts of nougat in them, but I like the hard candies that you know. I like to bite into them if I'm feeling anxious. It's just like, all right.
It's just Michael Shannoning
Michael Shannoning all over the place.
There is a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen! And not a one of you is prepared for it!
Somebody turn off Michael Shannon.
But I feel like
he's doing it again.
I feel like all the direction he was given was just, all right, so you're the bad guy, okay?
Yeah.
Got it.
Got it. All right.
All right. Anyway, and action.
I'm gonna rape you. I'm gonna rape you. Yeah.
I like it when women are quiet.
Yeah. Shut up.
You don't say nothing.
You're saying,
I like that.
Yeah.
It's
just
okay.
Well, gee, all right, fine. It's just, yeah. You know, that's the thing is that like it's always a good thing to, like when you have if you have a villain, it's always an interesting wrench to throw into the gears when they have some sort of redeeming quality that lets you relate to them in a way.
Mm-hmm.
To where it's like, because it makes you like sort of, it makes the characters question what they should do with the bad character. You know, it's like if they have redeeming qualities, then you can't just like haul off and shoot them. You know, it's like you have to have that debate in your head. You have to weigh your moral consequences. There's something interesting to think about. Michael Shannon, he's just a across the board fucking asshole. He has nothing to redeem himself, and it's just when he at the end when he gets when he finally gets his comeuppance, it's just like, all right, yeah, okay, we kind of thought that was gonna happen, you know. I thought like if the movie ended with Michael Shannon just shooting everybody and then just ended, I would have been totally fine with the movie.
So I think we pretty much summed up the whole movie right there. Oh, what'd you think about the whole sequence where it turned into a black and white musical?
That was so stupid. Oh, it's so dumb. Are you kidding me right now?
It's trying to do the whole La La Land.
Yeah,
or
it's
the
like
artist.
Nobody told
kinda
Guillermo
thing.
del Toro that sucks. And he's just like, oh man, if somebody would have said something, maybe I wouldn't have fucking like just derailed the movie entirely with this totally unnecessary thing where it's like we're not learning anything. Nothing is being learned through that sequence. Nothing is being added or learned or developed in any way. We already fucking know that she's in love with the goddamn fish boy. We get it. We already know. She fucked it. You have to love it. And I mean, that's the thing too, is that like, I guess along the themes of sexuality and what I was trying to talk about earlier is that the reason why she feels, one of the main issues with the movie is the reason why she loves the fish boy. And what she says, and it says that the fish boy sees her for her and doesn't get hung up on the fact that she can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the main reason. And I was like, well, number one, this lady's pretty attractive. You know, I'd say like she's not ugly. She's just like she looks like a pretty like just a regular lady. She just looks fine.
Your girlfriend is not ugly.
Not at all.
All right.
All right.
But yeah, I agree.
She can't find. There's not a single guy. Like this is not my main point, but this is a side point. But I was like, there's not a there is definitely somebody out there that would not care. You don't have to smuggle a fucking iguana man out of a fucking top secret facility that you take a bus to.
Maybe she's just a femcel. She's one of those.
She's
ladies.
like a furry. So
furries get down, but
that's all I'm saying. But they're freaky. They're freaky. So she's kind of freaky. But
I mean, she's like
it's just real loose. Is what I'm trying to say. Is that the whole reasoning behind her risking her life for this thing, and also like not having it, like seeing the capabilities of it, how it's very strong and can just like tear things apart if it really wanted to. I just feel like the reasoning for why she wants to do all the stuff that she does is like so weak and not developed. It's because there was no development of their relationship. It just kind of happened. The movie just kind of happened, and the movie moved along. There was no period where the relationship can sort of incubate, and then it can get to a point where like a crescendo where she realizes that she has to break him out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I've told people that I don't like this movie, something that I've heard in response is, "Oh, don't you like romantic movies? Don't you believe in love?" And I'm just thinking, not like that.
Yeah.
Not like a moron. I'm sorry.
Not like just like a fucking dangerous asshole who just like risks his life or her life and everybody else's around them for their weird kinky sexcapade.
And like, look, if you can't connect with people and you think, oh, if only I had some monstrous creature to hook up with, then okay, I guess I can understand your connection with the whole premise there. But and that's the thing too, as far as the whole development of the romantic relationship between these characters, is that the thing about this creature is that it really is more of a monster than a man.
It's the anatomical qualities of it just don't have any. There's no redeeming things. It's just the fact that it stands upright. That's the only thing about it.
It's violent. It like kills a cat.
Yeah, it just eats a cat, and they're totally fine with that.
Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cared about that cat. I was mortified.
He looks at the other cat and he's just like, "Well, lucky it wasn't you, huh?"
Yeah, hello. Look,
that's how I'd react to one of my cats just getting killed.
Oh yeah, I would be inconsolable if one of my cats was eaten for at least a fucking week. Like, holy shit, that guy didn't care at all.
Yeah.
That guy didn't give two shits.
Maybe if they established that he hated that cat early on or something.
Yeah, that would have been fine. Like, I'm not saying that like that shouldn't have happened.
I'm just saying it's played as like a joke when the cat gets killed.
Yeah, it's just like, isn't that funny?
Hey, random animal cruelty.
It's like, hey, he knocked over all my records on the floor. Oh, and he killed my cat. Oh, that rascal.
It's just like, okay.
And like, I know it's like, if you're thinking that we're being nitpicky about the whole relationship and all that stuff about this, it's just that like this movie is like is pushing this. It's like the main crux of the whole film. It's the only thing that you have to believe in this in order for the film to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in order for the film to work, you have to go along with the whole relationship and like and feel how much she loves this creature, and which is almost conflicting in a way, because I do believe that she loves the creature. She does a very good job portraying how much she cares for it. It's just we don't know why. It's just the run up to it. Like for the level that she cares about it, there's no 1 + 1 = 2. It's just 2.
It's one of those things where the movie just wants you to be all caught up,
right,
in the whole thing, just from the get-go, and it's just kind of really hammering in the whole idea of love without really explaining what it means.
Yeah, it's hard to like I do want to root for them, you know? Like, I don't dislike the characters. I really don't dislike any character except for Michael Shannon. And I don't even really dislike him in that way. I feel like his character wasn't fully fleshed out or thought of in a way. It was too generic, and for him, like, he did a great job with it, but it was just too, like, on the nose. Everything about this movie is on the fucking nose. There's no subtlety in this film whatsoever. It's just all, like, right there. And I think that this is the type of film that really demanded subtlety.
Yeah, I went in really wanting to like this movie. I really wanted to love this movie.
If you told me about the premise, I'd be down.
Sure.
You know, if you told me about, like, the synopsis of this thing, like, I'd be like, yeah, okay, like, that sounds interesting.
The problem is with this film and a number of other Guillermo del Toro films is that he creates this really interesting world, really interesting creatures and ideas, but then he just kind of chooses to tell the least interesting story. You have this movie about the U.S. government discovering a godlike fish creature in order to learn the mysteries of its anatomy and biology in order to get a leg up in the space race.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. Like,
Yeah.
let's do something with that.
Let's put a fucking helmet on him.
And instead, we're going to tell a story about some mute woman who's like a cleaning lady at the facility, and she hangs out with this gay guy, and they watch black and white Shirley Temple movies together, and they hang out and talk about how much life is slipping by, and they don't have anyone, and...
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
All right, but we got this fish creature over here.
And also, like, I really, at the end of the day, too, like, this movie didn't even need to be in the 1960s.
Really.
It didn't really need any of that. Like, you could have had the reason why the government wanted it for any sort of reason.
I think it's because he wanted to make a kind of parallel.
It's just what he had lying around.
From that era to our current era, because I don't know if you saw the Oscars when he won Best Director, but when he gave his acceptance speech, he was saying something to the effect of, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, which, in a time of hate, I decided I wanted to make a film about love. And love is the thing that really connects all of us. So I say
Put
no.
it on a fucking t-shirt, Guillermo.
So, and everybody's just like,
yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
yeah, just people just losing it. And that's, yeah, it's really all you got to do to really get these Hollywood people to
those
get
Hollywood
onto.
people, they just, like, you might as well have a fucking applause sign that flips on. They don't. They just know what the cues are. They know what they're supposed to fucking clap at. Like, when somebody says, like, climate change is Republicans, and, you know, we need to be at the forefront of civil rights, and it's like anytime anybody hears any of those things, like, you know, whether, you know, you're on one side or the other, it's just, you're supposed to clap at it, you know? And this movie feels like it was just, like, made by somebody who's just out of touch and for people that are totally out of touch. It's like everybody's got this, like, slime over their fucking face.
Well, it's just, what does the movie really have to say about anything like that?
It doesn't say anything, which is why it's just, like, it's just the cues. It's the cues that you're supposed to like this because I said it's supposed to be something you like.
I think racism is bad.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. Most people do.
We all think, all of us should at least think it's bad. You don't.
Racism is a weird thing though, because if you're gonna tackle an issue like that, you have to approach it with a level of nuance that is, it's really complicated because even racists don't think they're racists.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, some people are just like, what? This is just, well, you know, where I come from.
I'm not racist, but...
It's like, you know...
I have a list of questions.
Followed by extremely racist sentences.
Right, but there aren't people, at least for the most part, at least... Well, maybe... Okay, there probably are, but people who are like
Unfortunately, yeah,
full
there are.
mask off, outwardly hateful. Just
Oh yeah, no.
I'm letting everybody know I'm racist. You know?
Yeah. No, I've heard it.
Sure, yeah. Just overall, it's much more covert
Yeah,
these days with how it's actually, I guess, practiced
right.
by most people. So if you're gonna say, so it's like one of those things where you could say that this movie has a political message, which it doesn't really though, other than discrimination is bad, and so is bigotry, and so is fascism, and so on and so forth. And
Just say, yep, we all get it. Yep, we got it. Now, what is your take on it? Like, what are you trying to convey? Because if it's just that, then that's not enough.
I also thought it was, exactly. I also thought it was kind of weird. Michael Shannon's character's wife, she's kind of this throwaway character who's just this suburban 1960s or submissive housewife.
It doesn't really say anything about his character. I almost thought that was going to be
who
the
seems
redeeming
to
quality.
just enjoy being a submissive housewife and just pleasing her husband, whatever. And I just thought that was kind of weird because from everything I've read and learned about, there were no happy, submissive housewives back then. It just wasn't a thing.
No, not really. I can't imagine anybody in a position like that would ever be truly happy about it.
So was she just not the right kind of... I just don't really know like what that was for.
I know what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
That entire scene where Michael Shannon just goes home for one scene. He just goes home from work and you meet his family or whatever. I think that was Guillermo del Toro's attempt to give him a redeeming quality. And the redeeming quality was just the fact that he has a family. That's it. And he doesn't beat the shit out of his wife. Which maybe for the 1960s meant you were like one of the greatest men alive. Maybe that was just a straight up redeeming quality about a guy because he just didn't lay a hand on his... He wasn't mean to his family.
Yeah, he doesn't really...
That makes him a good man.
He's kind of distant, but he doesn't really treat his kids badly either.
Right. I think that's the redeeming quality, and it's just like, well, I mean, it still doesn't say anything about the guy because, what would it be if you would just like, come home and you're just a dick to your family for no fucking reason? It just doesn't make any sense for his character to even do that, and it does not outweigh any of the other stuff at all. It doesn't even come close. It doesn't even tip the scale one bit. So it's really honestly like it's a very well performed character, but an overall extremely weak, underdeveloped character.
Yeah.
Like it's like elementary level underdeveloped. It's really bad. Well, if there's anything else you would is there anything else you want to talk about with Guillermo del Toro? I mean, he's going to be putting out what is he working on next? The Pinocchio movie?
Yeah, I was looking up what he was going to be working on next, and he's making a stop-motion animated film based on Pinocchio for Netflix, which is supposed to be coming out in the next year or two. And I just feel like it's just going to be more of the same shit. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that it's stop-motion animation.
Yeah, you don't really see that too often.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'll see what it looks like at least, but the whole idea of it just doesn't excite me. For one thing, it's the story of Pinocchio. That story is just, how many times are you going to do that? And then...
Oh, yeah, and he's going to make it all fucking... There's going to be swearing in it, and there's going to be a scene where one of the clay figures gets, beat up or shot or something. It's gonna be very stylized and gritty. And it's gonna have gonna have some dark elements to it.
It's gonna have some pretty cool looking, cool looking marionettes, and it's probably gonna have a lullaby-ish score by Alexandre Desplat again. And I'm just thinking, all right, I guess.
I don't know, man. It just... how long are we going to have? Maybe it's just me. I'm just getting older, and so my tastes are changing. You know, I've thought about that a little bit as well. You know, but I can still enjoy. There's still a lot of stuff I can enjoy from
That's good.
my childhood.
Yeah.
Or from when I was younger. I still can go back and enjoy them, you know, today and stuff, like certain shows and movies and whatnot. And I don't really understand this like need to continue to like rehash these like kind of old styles of entertainment, I'd say, just for the novelty of it. Like the novelty of like a whole puppet show. Like let's just make a movie that's a puppet show. It's just like we don't need that anymore. Like we're not like just mesmerized by like the tiniest things. Like we've kind of evolved as a people. Things have changed, and it requires a bit. I just feel like there should be stuff out there that kind of stimulates the brain a little bit more than that. It's like if you think about like, I don't know, like Team America, World Police, right? Team America, they use puppets, but like they use them in a way that was awesome because they turned it into this like hilarious comedy, and like they used the fact that they were puppets as part of the comedy. And I think that when you do stuff like that, it really works because you're sort of, not only are you making fun of like the art form itself, you're using it against itself, and you're presenting it in a totally new way. If he just goes and makes like a stop motion Pinocchio movie, it's just gonna be a fucking Tim Burton's Willy Wonka. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's all it's gonna be. It's just gonna be Tim Burton's Willy Wonka with fucking mixed with Coraline. And then, like that's it. That's all we're gonna get. You know, you're not gonna have those same wonders that you got when you were a kid and you watched Nightmare Before Christmas or something like that. It's gonna be just one of those one and done type things.
Yeah, it's just he's just kind of staying in his lane here. It's just going, all right, here's another fairy tale.
He's not pushing himself or anything, and like this is why like the point of this show is like, look, just don't get hyped up by Guillermo del Toro stuff coming out. Like just that's kind of like I guess the ending message here is that you just can't really just don't feel yourself getting hyped up just because it's Guillermo del Toro's name on something. You know?
I really want him to make something
I do too.
Really good again.
I do too. But I just can't expect it with the trends. If you're going on straight up like on trends here, it's like it's not looking good.
I just want him to this is bad phrasing, but I want him to go back to Mexico, and I want him to just make
phrasing,
and I just to go back to making movies in Mexico, I should say.
Yeah.
And I think if he was able to go back there, I don't really know exactly. I'm sure there's differences in the Mexican film industry to the Hollywood film industry, but I feel like when he has made his movies in his home country, he's been able to have a lot more. I just feel like his creativity really shines, and he's able to really communicate his ideas and flesh out his worlds and everything and creatures more properly. And
I think overall, he really sought out in the beginning to sort of take his culture and bring it to the forefront and kind of blend it with more mainstream stuff to where people could be exposed to maybe people that just like that are used to just like the normal Hollywood movie that like starring white guy number 1 and his black friend number 2 and blah 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 blah, and it's just, you know, it's just The Rock and Jason Statham, and they're gonna go and they're gonna pump iron and they're gonna do sweet handshakes and then the movie's over. And it's like Guillermo del Toro took something that people weren't used to seeing, or something that really didn't get a lot of attention that should have got attention, like the Spanish culture and Mexican culture and stuff like that, and he blended it with something that it fit perfectly with, like straight up PB&J. Like the Spanish culture and Mexican culture totally fits with like horror and fairy tale and stuff like that. Like a lot of the imagery in their fairy tales are similar to ours, and like a lot of their kind of grim style tales and stuff like are actually like pretty are awesome and scary, and they have great, interesting characters to them. And I think that he sought out to sort of, get these characters and these cultures and these stories some attention. And now he's just a fucking Hollywood director douchebag guy who just like, what happened to you, man? Like, what the fuck happened to you?
You used to be cool.
You used to be cool. You used to come around with a fucking mouth shop and flipping a coin, and you were taking us all out and riding your sweet Chevy, and now look at you. Now you're just a suit.
Like I said, I didn't want to approach this episode from just wanting to hate on this dude because...
No, I don't either.
Because I overall really like his work, and especially his Spanish language films, and I kind of wish he would just get back to that a little bit more. And
maybe he will one of these days. Maybe he'll try to do his whole go back to his roots thing, which is what he just needs to do. Like, that sounds so cliche, but it's literally the solution here.
Because his contemporary Mexican filmmakers, I wanted to mention real quick, like Alfonso Cuarón and Alejandro Inarritu. I'm saying those names horribly.
Yeah, that's fine,
But you know who I mean.
You're trying, man. You're trying. You're doing good. You're doing good.
These directors, I think they make great films as well, and they
really good movies. Honestly, like they make really. This is like some stuff. We're talking, Children of Men, Babel, Birdman, The Revenant, which is Revenant is questionable, but it's still a pretty good movie.
Oh, for sure. But these guys go back and forth a little bit more when it comes to, I'm going to make an English language movie in Hollywood, and then I'm going to make a Spanish language movie, maybe also in Hollywood too, but it's going to be more of an international production. And it's kind of like we mentioned John Woo a bit earlier. And the thing is, it's like he did his thing in Hollywood for a decade or so, and then after a little while, he's like, all right, I got to go back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And that's what he's been doing.
He figured it out. He was like, this is not, the grass was greener when he came to Hollywood, and he realized that it's just a bucket of diarrhea.
So he's making...
So I'm going to go back to where I'm appreciated, and I can actually do what I want to do.
Yeah, so he went back to Hong Kong like a decade or so ago, and now he's just making like epic period Chinese
He's doing
movies.
good stuff.
And yeah, his work is...
he's doing good stuff.
Returned to being much better. And I think maybe that's just what it is. If I have any final thoughts, I just wanted to say that, yeah, I hope he just kind of returns to what I enjoyed about his work in the first place.
That's a Hacksaw prescription. Is look, Guillermo, we like you. You're a cool guy. We like your we like your nerdy fucking house and all your stuff. We like your collection of swords and your rug that was fucking the rug from the Addams Family house or something. Like, just look, man, just go back to Mexico in a good way voluntarily. I'd say voluntarily go back to Mexico and fucking just get in with it. Like get back to like that awesome culture and imagery, and just get out of this fucking Hollywood bullshit, man. Like this Hollywood bullshit is just like nobody needs any of this crap. Nobody needs it. Okay? People need culture more than anything else right now. And it's just this guy, he's just like, I don't know, just putting out the stuff that any director that's way beneath him would put out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is that like it's a shame because he's capable of so much better than this.
Yeah, it's a shame because this movie probably took a few years to make, and I just think about all the other things he could have been working on.
Yeah, all the other cool projects he could have been doing instead of this fucking weird ass movie that made no sense and has no purpose and is just a definite pass. And I'm, kind of want my $4 back from Amazon.
On the bright side, the one bright side I'll say is like this movie was very critically and commercially successful, so hopefully it netted him enough chunk of change to go, all right, Guillermo.
No, he decided to take that money and make fucking Pinocchio.
All right, so maybe after Pinocchio, Maybe the Pinocchio thing was going on kind of simultaneously. It's stop motion animation. It takes like 20 years to make a stop motion
Shape of
animation
Water
movie.
came out in what, like 2017?
2017? Yeah.
And Pinocchio is not due to come out for like another year or two?
Like I said, it takes like 10 years to make a stop motion animated movie.
Come on.
I'm exaggerating,
All right.
That's why there aren't that many of them.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it. Go ahead if you have any questions or comments. Go ahead and head on over to hacksawpodcast@gmail.com and send us all of your colorful words.
Oh yeah, please do. And yeah, just keep checking us out.
Yeah, we're on Spotify now. Just look up Hacksaw Podcast on Spotify. We're on iTunes. Anywhere else? Google?
Yeah, we're on Google Podcasts now. We're going to be uploading our stuff to YouTube, so we're getting it all out there.
We're just about everywhere you get your other podcasts. You can go ahead and give us a subscribe there.
Yeah, so we'll be cooking up another episode here pretty soon.
Absolutely.
And
till then.
Till then.
Later.
Bye-bye.